Hello everyone and welcome back. This is another quick video I just wanted to do my input on. So I got in kind of like, let's say, just a heated debate, just a little. That's definitely an understatement. I gave my opinion, and let's just say the other side, there are certain people that were so frustrated with me having a difference of opinion on this that they were very critical on making fun of my position of how much knowledge I have in the gaming industry, saying that I didn't have as much experience as them, so therefore I had less say in this. And this whole debate was around reviews. I argue that the fact is that game reviews should exist, and that this whole thing about Epic Games, about them not having a review system on their launcher, and I said clearly the community of these gamers want to have a review system. They want to be able to critique it. They want to be able to have input in the game, and their side is, I'll try to give the unbiased some of the things that they said. They tried to say that review systems have a lot of gamification in them, that they reward people for writing reviews, and a lot of times they'll just write negative reviews, that they say that people will just blindly review without actually playing the game, and then writing bad reviews as well, and that they say that these people shouldn't be able to do that because it hurts the developer. And in especially with a smaller company, that can be agreed upon, that when bad reviews happen, when people don't even play the game and they think, oh, because the game's free, it must be free to was it pay to win, and then it's actually not a pay to win game, and they have to actually sell the game for money when it wasn't actually for pay to win, then basically it defeated the whole purpose of the game, that they were trying to sell it for free, or not sell it for free, but they had another way they were actually gonna make their money back, but it wasn't pay to win. But everyone just assumed, so they just wrote a bad review even though they didn't actually play the game. And then other people, this is where the gray area comes in. They think that the only thing you should be able to review a game on, which still doesn't even have a solid defining line, is you can only review a game based on the content the game has and nothing else surrounding the game. Which again, that is it sounds so easy on paper, but it does not sound easy when you're reviewing an actual game. People think it's, oh, that's easy, you can or can't do this, but when I'm asking this these questions, obviously they're giving different answers on it. That what happens if you say one game company says, hey, I don't want to sell this game for I don't want to give the consumers on this platform certain features that I'll give on the other game, and then they get criticized for that the people on that game find out later that obviously they didn't openly say this, but they find out that there was content that was intentionally removed and wasn't allowed into the game until a year later, just so that developer could get back at that publisher for that for their platform, because they didn't support them when they wanted to make their game and had to go to a completely different publisher for it. It's like, yeah, we really got you back, and now we punish people that are fans of ours because you didn't give us what we wanted, and basically dragging the consumer through the mud over little like old wounds, pretty much. And the fact of the matter is that then they say, well, no one should criticize us for that. Well, yeah, they should be able to criticize you because you basically gave them less content for the game. So when they're playing the game, they got less to play with because you had to, have your little arguments. And so obviously that's going to affect, the people's enjoyment of the game. So intentionally trying to make the game less enjoyable obviously is going to result in bad reviews. And of course, they're going to argue that that's still toxic reviews. I argue that's not. Toxic review, I see something like where they actually were saying, inflammatory stuff and trying to completely be negative intentionally and whatnot, versus they did not like your game because you were intentionally trying to hold these little arguments with people over nothing, and punishing the consumer because the developer and the publisher have some gripe with each other back in the day, and now that they're with a different company, they want to get even with them. It's just that's the thing. And apparently they think that the consumer cannot be trusted to have reviews, so they decide to that they say that they should not have any review system at all. And I'm gonna block out the names because I don't, I know how this goes down, where they're gonna get frustrated if I show their names, and I'm not gonna go there. I just want to show you some of these people, what their comments were, at least to give context of what this was about. but I'm obviously not going to show the whole conversation because there's no way I can block out every single name, post every single comment. I could be here all day. So I'm just giving, the general thing here of what their side was versus my side is, with the consumer end, that they should be able to write reviews, because if you're going to just try and not allow any reviews, that no one can like a video, no one can write a comment, no one can do any reviews on Steam and whatnot, because they're afraid of a few review bombs that unfortunately do happen. The fact of the matter is that that's basically, it comes off as you're afraid to take criticism, even if it is maybe a review bomb that you're worried about. The fact is being afraid of criticism is pretty bad in my opinion. Being that afraid that you're willing to ask to not have any reviews on your game, but then at the same time, like they say that that's the thing that also gets confusing. They say that you can write reviews and they can be bad reviews, but they have to be legitimate. But then as you get farther along, it goes to the point where they talk about how that gamers just can't be trusted with reviews, so they shouldn't review at all. And then they keep circling back, and that's what I'm saying, like, you can't, so they can't write any reviews. They go, no, they can write reviews, and they can have negative opinions, but they have to be accurate reviews. And then as we keep going along the discussion, it goes back to, see, PC gamers, they write bad reviews, so they can't be trusted, so they can't write reviews, and it goes into a cycle, and it never ends. So, but this was me in a discussion with some people that worked at Destiny and Halo and Call of Duty, and one person that was at it with a small indie company. I'm not gonna say their names or anything like that. I'm just giving you some context of, I'm hearing from both the smaller end and from the larger end of games. But I mean, you have these companies like, say, EA and whatnot, that don't like having bad reviews. They don't like people reviewing their game and giving them, negative game reviews. Like, what was that, SimCity or whatever it was, where they got negative reviews because they did not plan everything out. They tried to make SimCity this thing where only 100 people could be on at a time or something like that, something ridiculous. They got all this bad press and whatnot, got bad game, like they got the worst business in the US or something like that, and then later on they brag about how much money they made, and they've done that multiple times, and yet somehow they say reviews hurt them, but yet then they brag about how much more money they made in microtransaction sales and stuff like that. So I don't believe that. I think that's not being honest. That is being a little bit disingenuous. But that's my take on that one. That I just, some of the things I feel like that developers are and people in the industry are so disconnected from the gamers and the consumers, when the market is controlled by those consumers. Even if you don't like them, they're the ones that hold all the money. And if you want to make money, you have to actually give them what they want, even if it is, unfortunately, maybe some people are a little bit toxic. But the fact of the matter is that when it comes down to it, that you have to actually face those realities. And companies like Red Dead Redemption and the people that made Doom, they handled the criticism well, and they made better games versus other games that did not handle criticism well and instead intentionally made it more insulting. I mean, I'm not even going to go through all Fallout 76's stuff. Too many other companies too many other people have covered that stuff about the things they did. But you get the picture where they kind of just said, oh, we're sorry, we'll refund your bad bag for what, 5 atoms or something like that, or what's like $5 worth of atoms, and you can't even buy a bag in the game. But oh man, I'm just not even going into all that, but you get the picture. So the people in the industry, some of these people think that you should not be able to write any bad reviews for Halo or for Call of Duty or anything like that, because they can't trust you enough to actually write a good review. And I say, if you're too afraid to let them write reviews on your games, then it sounds like you actually do have a problem with taking criticism. And then there's the whole mobile thing, which I also wanted to talk about. I know this video is going to be a little lengthy, unfortunately. I thought it was going to be a short one, but I can already see it's going a little bit long here. But the mobile market, this one is another thing that I see more on the indie side that I just was absolutely shocked at. It was almost like they had almost no morals when it came to talking about this one. So people, lost their stuff about, lost their shit about Diablo Immortal being on mobile phone and whatnot, and people didn't like it. And then people are like, the indie side's like, why is everyone complaining? They should understand that mobile market is the future. And I'm just sitting here going, the mobile market, if you look at it from a macro view overall, it looks like it's big, but when you look at it on a smaller scale, who are the ones actually buying it? It's usually A, the Chinese market, or B, mothers that are buying their kids app games to play. That's the two people that are buying it. So when you go to sell a game in front of all these people that spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars coming around from the country, flights in, wanting to come pay to see you present this, they're giving you money, and then you're showing them a game that should have been presented halfway across on the other side of the continent, you're obviously going to face some criticism for it. I mean, obviously, you know, some of the jokes, some of the like joking insults weren't necessary, but the fact of the matter is you should have expected some criticism for that. You should have expected to be criticized for it, and then not being able to handle that criticism is just not, you know, like having to try to avoid it was pretty dumb. But some of the things that people say of this, like how we should have supported them, is like, oh, look at this. I hate this article they keep showing. They keep showing this article that says that more Africans have mobile phones than electricity at home, which, by the way, doesn't make sense, because how can they have more mobile phones, or there's more mobile phones than electricity? How are they going to charge their phones? They obviously need electricity. But I find that ridiculous, where they're like, you know, saying, oh, see, the Africans, they have phones and we make mobile games. We need to get their money. I'm sorry, but what? I'm sorry. Do you not realize that they actually have more things that they're more concerned about than buying a mobile phone? You know, just maybe that there's actually a lot more other hardships in their country that they have to deal with than, you know, us. I swear to God, they think that, hey, they have a phone, why don't we sell to them? Oh my God, some of the people are just, but that's not even the worst disconnected thing I've ever heard from some people. Some of this indie group that I'm in, some of the things that I sometimes see when, you know, they're asking for like any like insight or anything like that, one of them I'm actually glad at least a lot more people were in the group, you know, pretty much criticizing some of these people that were actually doing this, that some people actually were supporting somehow, and that was that loot boxes in video games, that not only do they support it, they wanted to find out ways of how they could actually punish the players more, that they could actually tell the players like, oh, you'll have a 20% chance of getting something, but in reality they wanted to manipulate the RNG to actually only give you 5% and falsely advertise. And that's what I saw it as, false advertisement. And they said, no, well, I need to be able to make a game that I can get a lot of money from, that's just something small for the time being to pay my bills, so that way I can make a better game. And it didn't, no matter how much they worded it, it didn't change the fact of the matter that they were openly saying that they should be able to lie and manipulate, and they want to know how to falsely RNG system so they wouldn't get caught. That's like one of the few things I actually give props to the Chinese market. At least they require that you have to actually show it, apparently, in their games, that you have to actually show that you what the RNG is, what your chances actually are, and if you don't actually follow through with that, that your RNG is like you lied about it and whatnot, that there's actually punishment for it. I really think that should be required, that they should actually know their chances, that to be manipulative like that and say, oh, you have a 30% chance or something like that, and then it ends up it's only like a 2% chance, that is absolutely just disgusting in my opinion. And the fact that some people actually go to that extent and then justify it as they need money. So yeah, I swear some of these developers are to the point where it doesn't surprise me that they end up resorting to asset dumps. And if you haven't heard of these asset dump games, that's where they pretty much go out, they just buy a bunch of assets or whatnot, you know, chuck it all together and throw it in and call it a game, and then try to get money from you. And these have been made fun of to the point where actually I believe Steam's already cracked down on it, that if you try to do stuff like this, it's obviously going to get caught, and it's obviously going to get taken off, and they're going to, you know, go about their own way of handling it. But the fact of the matter is that some of these people, it feels like that's what the point is, that's what they're trying to do. They're just trying to make asset dumps with loot boxes in them and think that they can just make a bunch of money and you know, run for it. And that's the thing. That's how disconnected I feel that a lot of these people are when it comes to in the industry. Some of them, you know, obviously they understand the gripes of their consumers and actually are adjusting, and that's why they're getting good reviews. While I see a lot of them are just, you know, not adjusting to it, and that they just don't want anyone to write bad reviews. and then deny that they're saying that they don't want people to write bad reviews, but then, you know, obviously then they say they can't trust the gamer with writing a review because too many people will just review bomb without actually playing the game. And again, I suggested my things about how companies should just, instead of like, you know, making exclusives on an Epic launcher, that Epic should actually, you know, take the reins and actually make a launcher that gives better and more improved features than Valve. And instead of, you know, exclusivity, they have cheaper games. They you know, have way more things to offer, that maybe their review system that you have to play an hour's worth of their game before you can even write a review, and so forth. I think, you know, if Epic Games were to actually try and go that route, they could actually probably do it a little bit better. But the fact of the matter is that trying to say you don't want to take any criticism at all, you just only want to accept that the good reviews, and pretty much that's what it felt like. And then they're trying to argue, you know, with these review things that, oh, there's other venues that they can get their information from, and yet they won't tell me what venues they're talking about. If they're talking about taking it from game journalists, I'm going to say the same thing about, you know, game journalists and Hollywood critics, that they've constantly pushed their little agendas when they write reviews as well, that they have their toxicity as well when they write their reviews, that they want things catered towards them, that they want this somewhat like virtual signaling. They've, like, what was that movie Bright? It was a really good movie that people liked, and other people went about it and said, you know, the critics wrote bad reviews about it, saying, oh, it doesn't really get into the hardships of racial discrimination and stuff like that. It goes, it's a movie. It's just a movie. Why are you trying to make it something more than that? And it's just ridiculous that they just wanted more politics in their movie, and because of that, they gave the movie a bad review. And then I say, well, see, even the, you know, those Hollywood people can't be trusted. When it came to, what was it, IGN, that one guy got fired because he plagiarized his reviews. He was let go. So the fact of the matter is that obviously I'm not gonna, you know, give out the same insight with I'm not gonna take their reviews into consideration, because they've constantly wrote good reviews for AAA company games that actually no one liked. I've hardly ever seen these AAA games actually get bad reviews from some of these game journalists. So why in the world would I ever trust them? And so when I'm asking them, like, well, where am I going to find this stuff? Like, say, what if I buy Halo Reach and on the, you know, the emulator for the Xbox One market, and it starts crashing on me and I can't figure out why it's crashing? Well, there's a review system that literally tells me, oh, the reason why it crashes a lot is because the emulator does not actually function well on the Xbox One, and so your game's going to constantly crash on it. It's the emulator's fault. Versus I could be spending hours looking up for YouTube videos and Reddit posts after I've already purchased the game. So I already knew ahead of time, before I even purchased, before I was going to consider purchasing the game, that this game was going to crash a lot. So I knew to hold off on it. I would go, okay, apparently this thing crashed a lot, and then I decided to look it up on YouTube later just to verify, and people were saying, yeah, they're like constantly showing videos of their game just constantly crashing and whatnot, and Reddit posts bringing this up. So I actually knew this more ahead of time before I made my purchase, and knew about that, and then knew not to buy the game, rather than buy the game, learn about that, and then have to go through the entire refund process just to get my money back. And no one's going to want to do that in a game system that has no ability to review it. So it comes down to this whole collage of issues that I feel like game developers almost want to be able to make games that are almost like asset dumps sometimes, throw in a shit ton of loot boxes, throw it on the mobile market, and ask no one to review their game so they don't have to take any criticism. And then if people still don't buy it, they still want to call them a toxic gamer. So there's no winning in this for the gamer. Some of these people just feel like they just want to be able to make games, and you just buy them and don't say anything. And unfortunately, that's just not how the market works. Unfortunately, it's a difficult market. Even just trying to get a job in it is difficult, and then trying to, you know, obviously expect that people are just going to buy games without any criticism. I don't get their you know, their line of thinking that that's how it should work. But again, they keep saying that they're not saying no critiquing. they're just saying you can't criticize under certain parameters, which again, when I go in depth with it, they can't actually differentiate that, and that how they can prevent that. So they say that no one should actually be able to write reviews, and then again we go back in the circle again. But anyways, that's my opinion on it, about how I see a lot of, there's not, you know, everyone, but there's a lot of people in the gaming industry that are disconnected from their from the gamers, and they don't understand how the consumers work, and that you got to realize that you have to please these consumers, because you are in the market in which they have the money and the buying power, and that they get to decide it. So if you don't actually make the way that their game should be, obviously it's gonna, you know, not sit well. Obviously, you know, sometimes you're not gonna accept their criticism, sometimes you are, but that's just how it works, unfortunately, and that's just the way it has to go. And if you have a problem with it, I guess I don't know what else to really tell you, because that's how it works. And yeah, but anyways, I'm just gonna end it here because it's over 20 minutes now. Anyways, you guys tell me what you guys think, what you know, if their criticism of, you know, that we shouldn't review games, that the mobile market is the future, that loot boxes should be acceptable and manipulative, in my opinion, and that asset dumps shouldn't, you know, basically be, you know, not even criticized for it. Or do you agree with me that it should be the other way around? I mean, you guys write your review, what you guys think. You know, I'm not going to disable the comments and the likes. If you dislike it, go ahead and dislike it. If you have a negative opinion about my video, go ahead. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Anyways, you all take care. Bye.
Yeah.